you got for us here?
Welcome back, 9 to noon. It's my portion of the six-pack of picks.
How did we do last week? Any idea?
I was 1 and 2.
I forgot what I gave out.
And I have as well. How'd you do? Did you have Ravens? Did you have Ravens covering?
Yes, I had Ravens.
You had Lions.
No, I had Rams. So that's Ravens did not. Did Ravens cover?
Ravens did not cover.
0 and 2. Can't remember my. No, I had Rams. Can't remember my third. Probably for the best.
My version of six-pack of picks takes you into this weekend of games. And I'm starting, if I was going to, let's marry the footwork with the pass.
Sure.
Let's marry the six-pack and the games with the beer. I'm starting with Pabst. Blue Ribbon. And that takes us to, Milwaukee for the beer, but Green Bay for the game. The Packers are 2.5-point dogs hosting the Colts. And it's border battle fodder, of course. The Pack, we're at Lambeau week 4 as Vikings fans. The Packers have been somewhat coy, or they've tried to be. Could Jordan Love play? He's not. I don't think he's playing this weekend. But it should be Malik Willis. So enter Malik, Liberty's finest. Joe Mixon carried it 30 times for 159 yards. I bring him up because he did that against the Colts on Sunday. The Texans rushed on the Colts north of 200 yards, 40 carries on the day. Now, this wasn't by nature of a blowout either. It was 15-13 Texans going into the fourth quarter. And I love me some Josh Jacobs this weekend. Now,
he is questionable with the back. You know that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he either missed practice yesterday or was limited.
Well, this will not change my ultimate answer because I already looked it up and wrote it down. So I'm the moron for not having the Jacobs injury bit on my sheet.
Didn't mean to clump, but I thought you should know.
No, that's great. No, that's good to know because that would be a covenant cleanup provided by nobody, me looking stupid. But I love the run game, and I love Malik Willis if he's got to be running. So if that's Wilson doing the majority of the work behind Malik Willis, hopefully it's Jacobs, might be Wilson. But Malik's going to get his opportunities out of the backfield. I like the Packers with a plan on getting to Richardson. So how do they navigate that? Because they flummoxed Jalen Hurts in the opener multiple times in that game, forced mistakes, forced interceptions as well, broken coverage with the long A.J. Brown TD, be damned. I think this is going to be an entertaining game to drink a Pabst and watch the Packers win as dogs at Lambeau over the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday.
If you take the Green Bay Packers at home as an underdog, like all of your life, you absolutely would profit.
I agree. 2, Sunday night game. The Texans are -6.5 hosting the Chicago Bears, PA. This is entertaining and interesting because of what we saw from Caleb Williams in his debut. And speaking of Caleb Williams, speaking of the fact that he threw it 29 times. He had to throw it 29 times to get 93 yards. I'm feeling in the beer world all the acidity of a sour craft beer. This would be a sour craft beer. If Caleb walks into your brewery, he's looking for a sour or he's looking for a cider because he needs to be sweeter on Sunday against the Texans. I don't want to say he wasn't prepared, but that was a tough baptism into games that actually matter. He was sacked twice for a loss of nearly 30 yards. He was freaking out. He's running backwards. So what does take 2 look like for the Chicago Bears? This has disaster potential. With this offense, if they don't get going early, they were down 17-0 at home to Will Levis before Will Levis started helping the Bears get back into the game. One of the worst pick sixes, one of the dumbest ideas you'll ever see unveiled by Levis, led to that pick six that led to the Bears taking the lead. The Titans gashed them for a ton of yards on the ground, and the Texans, as I mentioned, put up 200 on the Colts. So Joe Mixon, if this was Fantasy Football Weekly, I wonder where Charch is putting Joe Mixon on his rankings for the week. It's a sneak peek at next week, which is sweet. The Texans are here. You get to see Diggs. You try to understand why Nico Collins is supposedly the number 1. You got Daniil and company down there. I am taking the Texans to cover the 6.5 against the Bears, but I want to see take 2 for Caleb Williams.
Like it, and Caleb will be better. Well, Caleb should be better because the gifted are supposed to look at the mistakes and then if there were 10, make 3 or 4 better in your second start. So he's going to be better, But outside of Montez Sweat and a little bit of a sneaky pass rush they have, Jalen Johnson's pretty good too. There still are a lot of ways you can beat the Chicago Bears defense, as they learned last week.
And my final one, 6-pack of picks. I'm going to Monday night where Philly are 6.5-point favorites hosting the Falcons. Now, marrying it up to beer. Well, Kirk Cousins is from Michigan, so I would start out with one of my favorite IPAs ever, a Bell's Two-Hearted. Bell's Brewery, I think it's either Comstock, Kazoo, somewhere. It's a Michigan brewery. So an ode to Kirk, I'll drink myself a Bell's Two-Hearted. And then you probably need about 15 Yinglings, PA, because it's in Philly, and the Eagles are going to feast on Kirk Cousins. Now, you saw, I pointed it out to you on Tuesday. I showed you some, and then you looked it up yourself as well. I need to see, is Kirk healthy right now? Is Kirk 100%? He was a little wonky in his dropbacks. The throws didn't look entirely confident. And this was a situation, of course, it shouldn't have been expected or guaranteed that everything would click. But things mostly looked ugly for the Falcons week one. Good defense and all of that considered with the Steelers in town. But now they got to go on the road with an Eagles team that was far from perfect in Brazil. And, traveling back, all of that considered, it was a Friday night game. They should be fine. The Eagles, I think, absolutely lopsided victory under the bright lights over Kirk. What about Kirk going to Philly week 2? What's with Kirk having to go to Philly week 2 of every year, regardless
and nationally
of what team
televised?
Is on? Absolutely. So I have Philly covering the 6.5. So I'm taking the Packers as dogs. I got the Texans and the Eagles covering in their games respectively.
Do we believe the Eagles can rush without blitzing the way the Steelers did?
Yeah.
The Steelers didn't blitz a lot, and they relied on T.J. Watt to win every single battle because he's high end. He's NFL Defensive Player of the Year, top 3 favorite the minute the schedule's out. And so can the Eagles do that? Can they? Because the Steelers, because they didn't have to blitz a lot, or at least at key times, they were able to take Drake London out of the game. It's from what I understand reading it, Drake was doubled a fair amount of the game. So Ray McLeod, the former Niner, was the one who got most of the looks for Cuzbuzz. And I think that flustered him. And then, he was second guessing some things. He was getting hit and he was throwing picks. So if the Eagles can rush without blitzing and have the right coverage on Drake London, I'm completely on the side of your selection. The 49ers are favored by 5.5 over the Minnesota Vikings. Their play-by-play voice, Greg Papa, joins 9 to noon next.
Ayuk behind Bell left. They run Mason off the left side. A cutback run. Touchdown! San Francisco! Lazard is wide right. Play action by Rodgers. Here comes Leonard Floyd. Rodgers steps up, throws. Batted away by Lenore. Intercepted by Flanagan. Foul.
Maybe they should just keep Flanagan fouls out there.
I think you just said that.
Greg Papa, play-by-play voice for the San Francisco 49ers, joins us now. What's going on there, G?
Hello, Paul. I'm coming to your town tomorrow. Looking forward to this one. And just watching you guys from last week, really impressed with Sam Darnold. I was hoping he'd come back to us as a backup quarterback, but, one game that he started last year against the Rams, he was just too good, especially in the first half. So he looks like his decision-making is on point, and he's got the cannon arm. So a lot like, hitting Aaron Rodgers, and you heard the call of the interception involving Leonard Floyd got Rodgers off the spot. To me, it's the same story in this game. If you allow slinging Sammy Darnold to sit in the midline and just have a nice, clean, U-shaped pocket, he will shred you. So it's going to be up to Nick Bosa and Floyd and the 49er pass rush.
But, Greg, what about the producer, Nordy? You didn't say hi to him.
No. I already had salutations with Nordy when I came on. You know what?
I was like hearing you
normally
yelling.
we come on and we have a lot of frivolity with you guys.
Yeah.
But we're going there, and you guys are good. And last time we went there, I'm not going to say we took you lightly, but we lost the game, and Kirk Cousins went crazy. So I got a whole new demeanor with this appearance on the PA show. I'm strictly focused in business.
Okay. However, we all watched or some of us listened, like I did, listen to your call of you guys kill a team with Quinnen Williams, Sauce Gardner, Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson, and Breece Hall. And the narrative with a fair amount of locals, but a lot of nationals is, yeah, the Vikings just won by 20 some odd points, but it was the Giants, but it was Daniel Jones. I mean, we just beat the Giants. Who cares, right, Greg?
No, it's a win. It's in the NFC, and you guys look good, and your offense looked good. I mean, obviously losing Jordan Addison is not good, Paul, and he's the one that beat us last year on the touchdown against Dre Greenlaw, and ultimately the defining moment of the 49ers season on defense, and maybe indirectly led to their change of defensive coordinator to cover zero blitz with Charvarius Ward, getting beat on a touchdown right before half. But you got Justin Jefferson back. You got Aaron Jones back. Your defense is really good. Last year we went there and lost and could not run the ball at all against Brian Flores' defense. And I know, we didn't have Debo in that game and Trent didn't play, and those guys will certainly begin the game healthy. But we got a major question mark, Paul, if Christian McCaffrey's going to play or not on Sunday.
Well, so who do you think overall is more important to Shanahan's offense, Debo Samuel or Christian McCaffrey, and why?
Christian McCaffrey. He's just, I think he's the best. Last year I thought he was the best player in the league. He won the Offensive Player of the Year. He led the league in touchdowns. He led the league in rushing and yards from scrimmage. He didn't catch as many balls as he has in the past, but the gravitational pull, and I know you love basketball, it's not like Steph Curry and the Warriors. Whenever Steph's on the floor, even with the Olympic team, they're leaving Kevin Durant open to go double Steph Curry. They're leaving LeBron James open to go double Steph Curry. Who does that?
Right.
That's the power of Steph, and that's McCaffrey. He's just the gravitational pull. Debo's a great player, and I don't know too many in the history of the NFL that technically is a wide receiver, but he's a running back. I call him a Z-back. He's a Z wide receiver, but he's a running back, and he carried the ball 8 times last game, so he's just special. But Christian McCaffrey is so involved. He opens up the entire passing game with his running ability and those choice routes over the middle. And J.P. Mason had a great game on Monday Night Football, but he doesn't run routes out of the backfield the way McCaffrey does. McCaffrey runs like a slot wide receiver. He's like, Adam Thielen you guys had for years. So he's just that good. So they were able to, they scored on 8 straight possessions without McCaffrey on Monday night. Pretty amazing. But, last year they scored on 6 straight in Philly and they were all touchdowns. So with McCaffrey, maybe, and JP had a touchdown and he had one called back. I'm not saying he's not a capable player, but he's not McCaffrey. And, McCaffrey's so good scoring, Paul. He's like Marcus Allen, he's Walter Payton. He just knows how to get into the end zone around the goal line. He had 14 rushing touchdowns and 7 receiving. He had 21 to lead the league. And he had a streak where he scored 1 in 17 straight games. So Christian McCaffrey, I still think, he's on the cover of Madden. You probably picked him number 1 in your fantasy team. I think he's the best player in the NFL.
Okay, Greg, help yours truly and the audience with a couple of players, please. Right guard Dominic Pooney. Wasn't super familiar with him. 3rd-round pick from Kansas. First team all Big 12 last year. Dominic Pooney was mashing man for profit on Monday Night Football, and I had no idea who he was.
He's been doing it all of training camp. Round 3 pick. Last year he played left tackle at Kansas. The year before he played left guard. Before that he was at a community college. He didn't allow a sack the last couple of years, but this is the Big 12, and Big 12 defense is totally different. Mm-hmm. So the Niners had injuries to their incumbent right guards from last year. John Feliciano was on short-term IR with a knee injury, and Spencer Burford broke a hand in training camp. Spencer did play some left guard in the game Monday night for Aaron Banks, who left with a calf injury. But like the 3rd day of training camp, Paul, they had to plug in the rookie Pooney at right guard, and he never let it go. His pass pro is big time. His short shuttle time from the combine was, I think, the best of all the linemen that went to the combine. He's a big guy, but he has quick feet. And then he's a mauler. He gets up on people. He's perfect with the zone scheme. But last year they ran behind Trent Williams and Aaron Banks a lot. They ran left. They were a left-handed team running, and they averaged over 5 yards a rush going left. I don't think it's going to be that way. I think they're going to be more ambidextrous this year. They ran behind Pooney right, and you can start left with the zone scheme and then cut back right or do it the other way. You could pull him. He had a great game. He's big time. And Quinnen Williams had some splash plays, but not as many. So he was great the first game. He's been great. He's one of those guys that looks like a 10-year veteran, a true plug-and-play offensive lineman. The Niners really have not had a guy like him at guard since the days of Mike Iupati and his old line with Mike Solari. Now, the one thing that concerns me a little bit is your stadium is so loud with the ooh, especially when you guys are making first downs. But more in offense, we're going to have to go silent count the whole game. And usually the right guard is the one that turns and tips the center, Jake Brendel, to snap the ball. So I'll watch practice today and see how we're going to do that. But he's been unflappable, but he's going to get a challenge in this game, obviously playing in your noise sound garden there, your deafening stadium there. Love that place, by the way. I think it's the best stadium in the NFL, along with SoFi.
Okay, defensively, Demetrius Flanagan Fowles. Hello. I mean, what's going on here with Demetrius Flanagan Fowles?
Well, you heard Tim Ryan, my partner, T-Rock, as you call him, on the call. And we were talking about, the Jets were running the ball a little bit, and they were playing with double tights. Flanagan Fowles is a college safety who they've made linebacker, because that's what Robert Saleh and those guys did. They did that with Fred Warner. Fred Warner was a hybrid at BYU and played the slot, and they made him a linebacker. But Fred's big and strong, can handle the run. Demetrius is not a good run player. He's okay, but he's small. But he did make, right after we were saying maybe they want to stay in the nickel more and leave Demo out there along with Ike Adam and not play Flanagan Fowles. He comes jumping out of nowhere and makes a pick. So he's very athletic. He's not, right now with Ray Greenlaw out after tearing his ACL in the Super Bowl, tearing his Achilles in the Super Bowl. We got Devondre Campbell, and you know him well from Green Bay, with Fred Warner. They'll be on the field all snaps, base and nickel. And then Flanagan Fowles comes off in the nickel. Ordinarily, it would be Dre Greenlaw in that situation, and Campbell would come off when he gets healthy. And then we got another young linebacker, D. Winters, second-year linebacker, really fast. But he's had an ankle injury. I don't think he's going to play in this game on Sunday, but he could. So Flanagan Fowles won't play a lot of snaps. He wears number 45, but he is in there when you guys have a fullback on your roster? Yeah, you have C.J. Ham.
Yeah.
And then you got this little tight. So you got fullback. So whenever you got, two backs or two tights, he'll be on the field.
Greg Papa, super talented play-by-play voice for the San Francisco 49ers on the 9 to noon show. And with Darnold, okay, you hit on it early, G, but you were sharing this with me, when the Vikings signed Sam Darnold to the 1-10, not on the radio, off the radio. Why, if Darnold wasn't going to play, okay, it's Purdy's money. And you don't be like, well, if Purdy goes down, at least we have Sam. There is that. But like from Kyle Shanahan through you and others, why was it considered a rather significant loss with Darnold leaving and coming here?
Because if you lose Brock Purdy, I was convinced watching Sam Darnold in practice and his arm talent, and when he played in preseason games, he ran the scout team against our defense, which is really hard. I've seen a lot of guys struggle against that scout team. Trey Lance could not deal with that scout team. Jimmy Garoppolo had to fight his ass off to make plays against the scout team. That's where Brock Purdy showed that he was a player when he started to, get in there and stand tall to Bosa and Fred Warner and make plays against the scout team. Sam Darnold made plays, and I had full confidence, and I was the only guy in the Bay Area. Everybody thinks of Sam Darnold getting mono in New York and seeing ghosts, and no one liked the guy. I saw his last 6 games in Carolina. He played great. He had a running game. It was a play-action game. It's all decision-making with him, Paul. If he makes the right decision, he's as good as anybody. Now, that's, easier said than done, but I think in your system, it's the USC system. It's Kyle's system, what Kevin runs. It's outside zone, boot and keep game off of it, get the ball out fast, change the launch angle, launch spot. And he's a big-time player. I was fully convinced last year, and I didn't want to, I don't want to bring it up. I actually thought going into the year that with Brock coming off the UCL injury, the elbow injury in the championship game in Philadelphia, that Sam Darnold could push Brock. That never happened. Brock just was, he was right back to where he was, if not better. And it never happened. And they love Brock here. But I was fully convinced, and I know Kyle was, if anything happened to Brock, and they had to play Sam, not only in the middle of a game come in, but play several weeks or the rest of a season, I think we could have won the Super Bowl with Sam Darnold.
Now, with Purdy, you know, from what you've seen the first 2 years, and then now an off season and a game, what do you know is improving with Brock? He's good. He's a system guy, and he follows it beautifully. But like, what's getting better?
His pocket presence. His first year when he came in off the bench for Jimmy, when Jimmy got hurt against Miami in early December, he would retreat in the pocket when he got pressure, and it would collapse around his front side. And McGlinchey was our tackle then, and Mike struggled sometimes in pass pro, especially when he got bull rushed. So Brock would retreat in the pocket, and when he did get out, he would spin around and scramble around and get out to his left. He was quick enough athletically that he avoided a lot of sacks, but he gave up on plays by just retreating in the pocket and going left. There was one game against Seattle, a playoff game, where he did it like 3 times in a row. And he kept throwing the ball away, and it was fine. Last year, he learned to step up in the pocket. When he gets pressure from his front side, and that'll be Colt McKivitz in this game, the right tackle, he steps up in the pocket, and he steps through the rush. He's not retreating and going to his left. He's stepping up through it and getting out to his right. He had a touchdown. If you want to kill some time and you get ready for Sunday, fired up George Kittle's touchdown last year against Dallas on Sunday Night Football against their safety. Classic. He got front side pressure. I think it was, may have been Micah. And he stepped up underneath it, dropped the shoulder like a pass rusher, was able to get small, come out of it, keep himself alive to throw and not just run. And he hit him for a touchdown on an over route. It was like, whoa. So that's the thing that he improved on last year more than anything. Now, it's just a firm handle on Kyle's offense. He not only understands the play call, he knows why Kyle called the play, what they want to accomplish in calling the play. Sometimes you call a 2nd and 9 play and you want 5 yards to set up 3rd and 4. You don't have to go with a deep shot and try to get 12 or, you know, something deeper. So he's big brain Brock. He is the one guy that has the mental aptitude and the emotional aptitude to deal with Kyle, because Kyle's tough. If you don't run his play right, like Jimmy Garoppolo, he will ream you because he put the play in. He designed it. It's all him. And if you don't see it like he sees it, he gets frustrated. Brock, he's not perfect, obviously, but he's very high percentage in executing throws, and he's a better thrower than you think he is. The guy's got a really strong arm, and I think his arm talent has improved this offseason because the first time as a Niner quarterback, Paul, it wasn't like he was getting ready for a draft that he never heard his name called, and he signed late. And when he did get to the OTAs and mini camps and training camp, he was a 3rd-string quarterback. He wasn't getting reps. And the next year he got hurt. He was in a rehab, so he was on a pitch count. He was on 2 days throw, 1 day off, 2 and 1 for the balance of training camp. This year he could let it rip. He's throwing all the time. His arm strength is better than you think. But what sets him apart is processing. Big brain Brock sees the field, understands why the play is being called, and he delivers the ball to the most open receiver. The Niners have a lot of open receivers on certain plays. He gets the ball to the most open receiver.
Is there a pay the piper time coming very soon for the 49ers with the deals they've given, these big deals to so many players?
Well, they're top heavy. They got 9 or 10 guys that are make over $15 million a year. Ooh. And now you put, Ayuk into that category, he makes double. So they got the highest paid just about every position. They're top 2 or 3. So you can't pay them all. And then Brock, the point is Brock, and Brock's going to go from 0 to 60 faster than any sports car you've ever driven. And he's not making 0, but he's not making 1. He's making $985,000 this year on the field. He makes more, those Applebee's commercials that he's so great at. The 50-cent boneless wings on 2, let's go. How many national ads is Brock Purdy doing? So he's making money off the field. But the Niners write him a check. The pay is $985,000 divided by whatever it is, 18 weeks in a season.
Yeah.
Next year, he could go from 0 to 60. Dak Prescott got $60 million.
Right.
And a lot of it's guaranteed. So I don't know if he'll get 60, but he could go 0 to 55 with Jordan Love and Trevor Lawrence. And, there's a bunch of young quarterbacks that are making that kind of money, 55. Jalen Hurts, I think, is there. So he's going to have the biggest 1 year increase in salary in the history of American sport. Who's ever gone from making less than $1 million 1 year to possibly making 5 million the next year? It doesn't happen.
Right. But
so it's pretty amazing. So, yeah.
But see, where is that going to hit? I mean, because you can't pay and keep all of them like that,
No, I know. But then, I would suggest you just become a Swiftie, Paul, and buy all of her merchandise. And I mean, honestly, the salary cap jumped this past year more than it's ever jumped ever.
Right.
And I think a lot of it is the popularity of young people, young girls following football. The ratings for the first week were up 12%. So tell me where the salary cap's going to be in 2025. Tell me where it's going to be in 26. So you don't know, but it could go up 20 million this year, 25 million the next year.
Right.
And then, that pays Brock. And then you could always move money around and restructure. But I hear you. It's not just Brock. Both of our corners, all of our corners, Treverius Ward, Demo Lenore, Ike Adam are in the final years of the deal. Trey Greenlaw is going to need a new deal. Our left guard, Aaron Banks, is going to need a new deal. Talanoa Hufunga, the safety, is coming back from an ACL tear, is going to need a new deal. So it's hard. And they're probably going to have to let go of some people like they did last year. Eric Armstead was the longest tenured 49er.
Right.
Did you notice that he didn't play the other night and now he's a Jacksonville Jaguar?
Right.
They had to let him go in the offseason.
Well, so lastly the 49ers are going to play football in 2025 and beyond if they don't win the Super Bowl this year. But it just sounds in a roundabout way like this is a really, really big year for the San Francisco 49ers. You agree?
I think the last 5 have been. And I know what you're saying. It's painful. I mean, we've been in the NFC Championship game 4 of the last 5 years, in the Super Bowl 2 of those years. Lost both Super Bowls to Mahomes and Andy and had 10-point leads. Had a 10-point lead in Super Bowl 54 in Miami with 7:13 to play in the game. I was already planning my speech at the parade. Honestly, I don't get in the game. And then they run the wasp play. They run 2-3 chip jet wasp, and what the hell? Steph Curry made a 3, and now they go off on a 20-0 run. What happened?
Right.
And they win, and you're like, whoa. But when they lost that game, at the end of that broadcast, I gave it the great line from NFL Films. This is not a dream denied, merely a dream delayed. And I believe that. And then the next year, the pandemic hit. Everybody got hurt. Their Bosa tore his ACL. And then the 21 year, we go to the championship game in L.A. up 10. We had a 10-point lead going to the fourth quarter of that game. The Bengals already beat the Chiefs earlier in the day. We weren't going to have to deal with the boogeyman in the Super Bowl. And they lost. We lost the championship game. The Rams win. They host the game. They win. Philadelphia, Brock gets his arm pulled off by Hassan Reddick. And then last year, I mean, just beyond belief, to lose a Super Bowl in overtime and score first in the overtime.
Right.
That's never happened before.
Wow.
So I understand the heartbreak is real, but I think they felt this way year after year. They're a resilient bunch. Had they won the Super Bowl last February 11th, Paul, that wouldn't change the way they would play this game Sunday in Minnesota. They'd still be pros and play it the same way. So it's, they're going to show up. I think they're the best team in the league on paper. A little top heavy. I wonder about depth if they do suffer injuries at certain spots. But you can be the best team on paper and not win, as they prove it. And I'm not sure Kansas City wasn't better in certain years. They were that good. I've always had great respect for them. So in any event, if, you'd like to win this year because this team has had their hearts ripped out and it's been 30 years since they've won a Super Bowl. Now, to your fan base, they're laughing at me for even bringing that up with your Bud Grant teams, obviously, and my Buffalo Bills, where I grew up, lost 4 in a row. So let's not be spoiled here. It's not your right to win a Super Bowl, but it has been 30 years, and this team did win. They won 5 Super Bowls in a 14-year span.
Wow.
Paul, this franchise. And now they haven't won one in 30 years.
Yeah. Why? Just quickly, because I know you got a show coming up. Why do you think the Niners on paper are better than the Lions?
The quarterback. I think I love Jared Goff, but in that game, in the championship game, we got him off his spot. Mm-hmm. And he had to reset his feet. The fourth down throw when Reynolds dropped it, but he had to reset his feet. Another fourth down throw. There were a couple of plays, and I love Goff. You give him a U-shaped pocket, a clean pocket like Darnold, he will shred you. But unlike Darnold, who can reset his feet and get out and be an athlete, I think Goff, can be manipulated into the pocket, and that's the strength of our team. All the stars we have, the strength of our team is still the D-line with Nick Bosa and Leonard Floyd, adding Malik Collins, and the gravedigger Javon Hargrave is better. Having Jordan Elliott behind, Gross Matos, our D-line comes at you in waves. So I want to see their defense. They upgraded their secondary, obviously personnel-wise, but they got some young people back there they're going to have to count on. They're good. I would probably say they're the second best team in the NFC. Philadelphia right there, but their quarterback makes heinous decisions, Jalen Hurts, and he's just reckless with the ball. I don't think he can fully read a defense. So, a lot of reasons why I would think that. I appreciate the O-line and D-line play of Detroit. They're strong. But I think ultimately, let's go back and watch the championship game. Brock had 2 21-yard scrambles in that game, a 10-yard scramble in that game. We were down 24-7 at halftime, and he unflappably brought us back by avoiding the rush. I just think the feet of Brock Purdy, underrated. It's a little Joe Montana, Steve Young-like, where he's able to get out of the pocket. And the guy who grew up, loving those two quarterbacks from Marin Catholic here in the Bay Area and Cal, Jared Goff, if you get him off his spot and reset his feet, he's not the same quarterback.
Appreciate you, brother. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Love you, man. We're having you on tomorrow, right?
Yes, sir. 1 o'clock my time, 11 o'clock City by the Bay time. No.
There he is. Nordy. Nordo.
He said,
Nordquist. Norton.
He says goodbye. Hey, you got to talk about the San Francisco Giants and some type of postseason push, okay? Yeah. Talk to you soon.
Yeah. That's not happening.
Later, brother. That's Greg Popham. That's Greg Popham, play-by-play voice for the San Francisco 49ers. He of the Ayuk is on fire. We don't need no Brandon. Let that burn. Okay. Tomorrow, the Friday football feast. Buffalo Wild. The Friday football feast. It's the feast. Tomorrow, Buffalo Wild Wings, Maplewood. Buffalo Wild Wings, Maplewood.
Everyone attending should practice that, by the way, whether you're in your car, you're in your office, you're at home.
Yeah.
That's one of the starts to the feast. And I anticipate Vikings fans want to be ready at 9 tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so they should practice that today.
I didn't do it last week. Maybe we'll do it this week. Specifically off a 1-0, hopefully to make it 2-0. And Chad Greenway joins the mix tomorrow at 9:17. Gabe Henderson, Vikings Entertainment Network, 10 o'clock. And YA, Alec Lewis at 11 o'clock. All of Buffalo Wild Wings Maplewood, PA in charge, KFAN. What did we learn about the adversary today? Well, if they are taking the Vikings as seriously as play-by-play voice Greg Papa did, then they have all of the metaphorical I's dotted and the T's crossed, because my man was on the serious side today with that 1-0 Viking squad. Say hello tonight at Canterbury Park, 5 o'clock, 7 days of live racing remaining. Yours truly on the microphone, and they're racing at Canterbury Park, 5 o'clock tonight. And finally, what a great line by Greg Papa, play-by-play voice for the San Francisco 49ers. After they lose the Super Bowl after the 2019 season, he says, it's not a dream denied, it's a dream delayed.
And it's time for the wrap. 9 to noon. Brought to you by Casey's Food and Fuel Rewards Elite Pizza. You know about that. Stop into a Casey's today. The Thursday show, you can tell we're excited. I mean, the fuse is lit. Our rapidity ignited. We're man-children. We just cannot help ourselves. Hey, what's your number? We're at 10s and 12s. It was fun to catch up with Greg Papa, the San Francisco treat. He's a real showstopper. But did I detect some fear in his heart? If Sling and Sammy and our squad breaks off a fast start, Then you got Lever, always thoughtful and measured. Every taken talker. It's like buried treasure. Let's see if this defense can hold up to the pressure. Drawn of something like MC Escher. Tomorrow at the feast, hypnotic like a dancer. Naturally, we'll have all of the answers. And make sure to welcome Church when he arrives. You should see what he does on Instagram Live.
Mission complete on Bourbon Street.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.